flu scare of 1976. That was the year the U.S. government told us all that swine flu could turn out to be a killer that could spread across the nation. And Washington decided that every man, woman, and child in the nation should get a shot to prevent a nationwide outbreak, a pandemic. Well, 46 million of us obediently took the shot. And now 4,000 Americans are claiming damages from Uncle Sam amounting to $3.5 billion because of what happened when they took that shot. By far the greatest number of the claims, 2/3 of them, are for neurological damage or even death, allegedly triggered by the flu shot. We pick up the story back in 1976 when the threat posed by the swine flu virus seemed very real indeed.
This virus was the cause of a pandemic in 1918 and 1919 that resulted in over 500,000 deaths in the United States, as well as 20 million deaths around the world.
See how easy it is?
Thus, the U.S. government's publicity machine was cranked into action to urge all America to protect itself against the swine flu menace.
Influenza is serious business. During major flu epidemics, millions of people are sick and thousands die. Well, this year you can get protection. The vaccines are safe, easy to take, and they can protect you against flu. So roll up your sleeve. Protect yourself.
One of those who did roll up her sleeve was Judy Roberts. She was perfectly healthy, an active woman, when in November of 1976, she took her shot. 2 weeks later, she says, she began to feel a numbness starting up her legs.
I joked about it that time. I said, I'll be numb to the knees by Friday if this keeps up. By the following week, I was totally paralyzed.
So completely paralyzed, in fact, that they had to operate on her to enable her to breathe. And for 6 months, Judy Roberts was a quadriplegic. The diagnosis? A neurological disorder called Guillain-Barré syndrome, GBS for short. These neurological diseases are little understood. They affect people in different ways. As you can see in these home movies taken by a friend, Judy Roberts' paralysis confined her mostly to a wheelchair for over a year. But this disease can even kill. Indeed, there are 300 claims now pending from the families of GBS victims who died.
But then they always tell you these are safe. They always push it through and these are safe, okay?
But I was wondering, the needles that they were giving them, I don't know what kind of thing they use, but it seems like they're using the same apparatus.
And they usually give you alcohol, then they give you a little Band-Aid on there. It's like just commercial, you know what I mean?
Yes, commercial, propaganda.
The result of the swine flu shot. In other GBS victims, the crippling effects diminish and all but disappear. But for Judy Roberts, progress back to good health has been painful and partial. Now, I notice that your smile, Judy, is a little bit constricted.
Yes, it is.
Is it different from what it used to be?
Very different. I have a greatly decreased mobility in my lips. And I can't drink through a straw on the right-hand side. I can't blow out birthday candles. I don't whistle anymore, for which my husband is grateful.
It may be a little difficult for you to answer this question, but have you recovered as much as you are going to recover?
Yes, this is it.
So you will now have a legacy of braces on your legs for the rest of your life?
Yes, the weakness in my hands will stay, and the leg braces will stay.
So Judy Roberts and her husband have filed a claim against the U.S. government. They're asking $12 million, though they don't expect to get nearly that much. Judy, why did you take the flu shot?
I'd never taken any other flu shots, but I felt like this was going to be a major epidemic. And the only way to prevent a major epidemic of a really deadly variety of flu was for everybody to be immunized.
Where did this so-called deadly variety of flu, where did it first hit back in 1976? It began right here at Fort Dix in New Jersey in January of that year when a number of recruits began to complain of respiratory ailments, something like the common cold. An Army doctor here sent samples of their throat cultures to the New Jersey Public Health Lab to find out just what kind of bug was going around here. One of those samples was from a Private David Lewis who had left his sickbed to go on a forced march. Private Lewis had collapsed on that march, and his sergeant had revived him by mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. But the sergeant showed no signs of illness. A few days later, Private Lewis died.
If this disease is so potentially fatal that it's going to kill a young, healthy man, a middle-aged school teacher doesn't have a prayer.
The New Jersey lab identified most of those soldiers' throat cultures as the normal kind of flu virus going around that year, but they could not make out what kind of virus was in the culture from the dead soldier and from 4 others who were sick. So they sent those cultures to the Federal Center for Disease Control in Atlanta, Georgia for further study. A few days later, they got the verdict: swine flu. But that much publicized outbreak of swine flu at Fort Dix involved only Private Lewis, who died, and those 4 other soldiers who recovered completely without the swine flu shot.
If I had known at that time that the boy had been in a sick bed, got up, went out on a forced march, and then collapsed and died, I would never have taken a shot.
The rationale for our recommendation was
Now, this guy that was the head of the CDC. Listen to his attitude. Check, oh my goodness, check this out.
of the death of a single individual, but it was on the basis that when we do see a change in the characteristics of the influenza virus, it is a massive public health problem in this country.
Dr. David Setzer, then head of the CDC, the Center for Disease Control in Atlanta, is now in private industry. He devised the swine flu program, and he pushed it. You began to give flu shots to the American people in October of '76. October 1st. By that time, how many cases of swine flu around the world had been reported?
There had been several reported, but none confirmed. There had been cases in Australia that were reported by the press, by the news media. There were cases in...
None confirmed. Did you ever uncover any other outbreaks of swine flu anywhere in the world?
No.
Now, nearly everyone was to receive the shot in a public health facility where a doctor might not be present. Therefore, it was up to the CDC to come up with some kind of official consent form, giving the public all the information it needed about the swine flu shot. This form stated that the swine flu vaccine had been tested. What it didn't say was that after those tests were completed, the scientists developed another vaccine. And that was the one given to most of the 46 million who took the shot. That vaccine.
You hear that? Did he say 46 million?
Well, the thing is, he said that there was one that was tested, and then they developed another one. They didn't give him the one that was tested, they gave him the other one that wasn't tested.
That for a new test.
Yeah, for a new test, right. But on the public.
And a captured audience now.
But it's the name swine and it's soft. It's swine.
Right.
So, I mean, that's all people do is consume all that pork and tapeworms and stuff in it. So I'm wondering why they called it swine.
But think about it. This happened in 1976. That's why they changed the name to H1N1, because they didn't want to associate it with this that happened back then. So these people are smart. They're very deceptive. But now watch what happens.
X53A. Was X53A ever field tested?
I can't say. I would have to...
It wasn't.
I don't know.
Well, I would think that you're in charge of the program.
I would have to check the records. I haven't looked at this in some time.
Think that you're in charge of the program.
I would have to check the records. I haven't looked at this in some time.
The information form, the consent form, was also supposed to warn people about any risks of serious complications following the shot. But did it?
No, I had never heard of any reactions other than a sore arm, fever, this sort of thing.
Judy Roberts' husband, Gene, also took the shot.
Yes, I looked at that document. I signed it. Nothing on it said I was going to have a heart attack like a Guillain-Barré, which I never heard of.
What if people from the government, from the Center for Disease Control, what if they had indeed known about it? What would be your feeling?
They should have told us.
Did anyone ever come to you and say, you know something, fellas? There's the possibility of neurological damage if you get into a mass immunization program?
No.
No one ever did?
No.
Do you know Michael Hatwick?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Michael Hatwick directed the surveillance team for the swine flu program at the CDC. His job was to find out what possible complications could arise from taking the shot and to report his findings to those in charge. Did you know ahead of time, Dr. Hatlick, that there had been case reports of neurological disorders, neurological illness, apparently associated with the injection of influenza vaccine?
Absolutely.
You did?
Yes.
How'd you know that?
By review of the literature.
So you told your superiors, the men in charge of the swine flu immunization program, about the possibility of neurological disorders?
Absolutely.
What would you say if I told you that your superiors say that you never told them about the possibility of neurological complications?
That's nonsense. I can't believe that they would say that they did not know that there were neurological illnesses associated with influenza vaccination. That simply is not true. We did know that.
I've said that Dr. Hatlick had never told me of his feelings on this subject.
That he's lying.
I guess you would have to make that assumption.
Then why does this report from your own agency, dated July 1976, list neurological complications as a possibility?
I think the consensus of the scientific community was that the evidence relating neurologic disorders to influenza immunization was such that they did not feel that this association was a real one.
You didn't feel it was necessary to tell the people that information?
I think that over
you're done, buddy.
CDC.
Done.
This is what I'm saying. You can't trust these people.
But I'm saying he's a physician.
years we have tried to inform the American people as fully as possible.
As part of informing Americans about the swine flu threat, Dr. Spencer's CDC also helped create the advertising to get the public to take the shot. Let me read to you from one of your own agency's memos planning the campaign to urge Americans to take the shot. The swine flu vaccine has been taken by many important persons, he wrote. Example, President Ford, Henry Kissinger, Elton John, Muhammad Ali, Mary Tyler Moore, Rudolph Nureyev, Walter Cronkite, Ralph Nader, Edward Kennedy, etc., etc. True?
I'm not familiar with that particular piece of paper, but I do know that at least of that group, President Ford didn't take the vaccination.
Did you talk to these people beforehand to find out if they planned to take the shot?
I did not know.
Did anybody?
I do not know.
Did you get permission to use their names in your campaign?
I do not know.
Mary, did you take a swine flu shot?
No, I did not.
He said straight up no. I didn't take it. So but she was in their campaign. Come on.
To use your name saying you had or were going to?
Absolutely not. Never did.
Did you ask your own doctor about taking the swine flu shot?
Yes, and at the time he thought it might be a good idea. But I resisted it because I was leery of having the symptoms that sometimes go with that kind of inoculation.
So you didn't?
No, I didn't.
Have you spoken to your doctor since?
Yes.
And?
He's delighted that I didn't take that shot.
You're in charge. Somebody's in charge. This is your advertising strategy that I have a copy of here. Who's it signed by? This one is unsigned. But you'll acknowledge that it was your baby, so to speak.
It could have been from the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare. It could be from CDC. I don't know. I'll be happy to take responsibility for it.
It's been 3 years now.
But this is why you have anti-vaxxers. This is why you have people that don't trust the stuff. Because these people lie. They lie.
Oh, GPS. Right?
Right.
Has the federal government, in your estimation, played fair with you about your claim?
No, I don't think so. It seems to be dragging on and on and on. And really, no end in sight that I can see at this point.
With respect to the cases of Guillain-Barré, allegedly...
Former Secretary of HEW Joseph Califano, too, was disturbed that there was no end in sight. So a year and a half ago, he promised that Uncle Sam would cut the bureaucratic red tape for victims suffering from GBS and would pay out quickly.
We shouldn't hold them to an impossible or too difficult standard of proving that they were hurt. Even if we pay a few people a few $1,000s that might not have deserved it, I think justice requires that we promptly pay those people who do deserve it.
Who's making the decision to be so hard-nosed about settling?
Well, I assume the Justice Department is.
Griffin Bell before he left?
Well, the Justice Department agreed to the statement I made. It was cleared word for word with the lawyers in the Justice Department by my HEW lawyers.
And that statement said, in effect?
That statement said that we should pay Guillain-Barré claims without regard to whether the federal government was negligent if they resulted from the swine flu shot.
I think the government knows it's wrong.
If it drags out long enough, that people will just give up. Let it go.
I am a little more adamant in my thoughts than my wife is, because I told Judy to take the shot. She wasn't going to take it, and she never had shots. And I'm mad with my government because they knew the facts, but they didn't release those facts because if they had released them, the people wouldn't have taken it. And they can come out tomorrow and tell me there's going to be an epidemic, and they can drop off like flies next to me. I will not take another shot that my government tells me to take.
Meantime,
think about how bad he must feel. Convincing his wife to get this shot, and then he does this.
Then he didn't do it.
Right. Oh no, he did. He got the shot too.
Oh, I thought he said he did.
No, the husband said he got it, but he didn't have any effects from it. Right. Mm-hmm. But she didn't want to take it.
Okay.
But he convinced her to take it.
I wonder if Muhammad Ali took it.
I wanted to.
Yeah, I thought that. Showing up city, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I see.
some 4,000 others like her are still waiting for their day in court.
That's a heavy. And I remember when that scare first resurfaced. They were trying to get everybody to do it. I was telling them kids, I was like, look.
Bird flu, mad cow, everything.
I just read it. You know, all praise to Allah, due to Allah. I saw that and I was like, wow. And I started telling people, I said, look, don't mess around with that.
So again, I wonder why they named it swine flu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to. But that's something that we can definitely look into. But I know why they changed it. Because they didn't want it to be affiliated with that. Okay. But now, this is something that might not seem to be a while, but it just shows you the power of the parents or the power of the people if they come together. All right.
A primary school in Birmingham has caved into pressure and temporarily pulled the plug on its lessons on LGBT rights. That's after hundreds of parents reportedly kept their children at home in protest. RT's Polly Boyka gives us the details.
Well, the cause of this row is an educational diversity program called No Outsiders, and it aims to teach kids about the different types of families that they might encounter, and talking to them about things like the idea of having two mums or two dads, and reading books to kids as young as 4 about the concept of same-sex families. The program was devised by the deputy head of the school at the centre of this row. His name's Andrew Moffat, and actually he's been nominated for the World's Best Teacher Award. Take a look at him talking about the programme.
Mummy Lula hugged her, and now they were sick on both of them. Mummy Nini got some tissues and wiped them both. No Outsiders is about teaching children that you are different, but you can still be friends with anybody. There's a huge rise in hate crime in the last year. At schools, we have to find ways to teach children, to counter that, really.
But the majority of the parents at this school are unhappy with Andrew Moffat's teaching methods. It's a predominantly Muslim school, and parents fundamentally disagree.
Now look at that. It says children are being told it's okay to be gay, yet 98% of the children at the school are Muslim. Okay.
Teaching kids about homosexuality and LGBT issues. Some of our viewers might know that in Islam, homosexuality.
What did you say, bro?
It's a Muslim school?
No, it's just a lot of Muslims in that area. Okay. It says my little girl is 4. She's in reception, and she came home asking me if it's okay to be a boy instead of a girl, and is dressed up in her brother's clothes She's 4 years old. Okay, so they, like I said, the game is to get them while they're young, so they can indoctrinate them with these ideas and these beliefs. Okay, so they can normalize it.
So up until now, the school had really held firm and said that they would continue this, what they see as...
The other parents said, I respect all religions, but why should sexuality be taught to primary school age children? It's out of control. And you got to think about it. Because in Chicago, they had mandatory sex ed programs for kindergartens. Okay? And the main thing that they were teaching in that was same-sex marriage. Okay?
But I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I find it interesting that they said Muslims, but Christians are taught that too.
All right.
You know,
right.
well, Christians are taught the same
We're
thing.
public schools, right?
Well, yeah, this was public school. This is in the UK though. But that's the same thing. Stuff is going on here.
Global.
Right. It's global because this is a part of the system.
I think that
What you see on the back of your dollar bill, Novus Ordo Seclorum, the new order of the world, the new world order. This is what they're trying to create. So they're pushing all of these ideas. Remember when Aaron Russo said the reason that they wanted to get the reason for the women's lib movement was to get the woman out of the home, right? So they can get your kids at an early age and they can indoctrinate them with their beliefs. And this is the game. This is what we're seeing. Okay.
Necessary diversity program, but now a number of media outlets are saying that the school has sent a letter to parents saying that the lessons are going to be stopped. Take a listen.
Up to the end of this term, we will not be delivering any No Outsiders lessons in our long-term year curriculum plan, as this half-term has already been blocked for religious education. Equality assemblies will continue as normal, and our welcoming No Outsiders ethos will be there for all.
This comes after protests. Last Friday, some 600 parents said that they hadn't taken their kids to school. That's 80% of the school's attendance, of the school's pupils. The school wouldn't confirm that number, but these protests have been taking place for a while now, ever since this row started, and some of them have been pretty sizable. Take a look.
You're not sure whether they fully understood the implications of this program. So, be very clear, parents, that these are your rights, and the Equality Act, your children protected.
And prior to the protests taking place, there had been a big school petition that some 400 predominantly Muslim parents had signed calling on the school to stop these lessons. So this is clearly an issue that's really riled up the parents in this school, in the community. I reported on the story from Birmingham a couple of weeks ago.
But you can see when those parents came together, they didn't stop. But the thing is that as they're doing this here, you have nothing from the parents. Parents are not saying anything. Okay? Because the thing is, if they create a nation of zombies, basically, who's going to fight? There's no fight. There's no fight. Go ahead, good brother.
It's a problem.
Then you look right.
We're going to have to die.
Yeah.
Say something.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's, yeah, it's very interesting. But now,
people think you're just trying to start some trouble.
Right, because then you're seen as the troublemaker. But then if it's a large group, it's just like with them. It could have been one of, no, their whole community came out and said, hey, no, look, we're together on this. We're going to shut down. Who you want to teach if we keep our kids home? You know, are we willing to make that type of stance? And that's what's important. Okay, but now watch this, because I want to show you this since we're getting a little more time. But now, I introduced you to a show called Ron. Y'all remember that?
He won Academy Award.
Oh, here we go. Now watch. This is the Muslim show that's on Hulu. All right, check this out. I want you to see this.
Thank you so much. Well, yeah, so I would like to thank my God. Allahu Akbar. Thank you, God. This is this is thanks to God and Hulu. And Hulu, you guys, look, I know you guys haven't seen my show. Everyone's like, is this an editor? We made a very specific show about an Arab Muslim family living in New Jersey, and this means a lot to be recognized on this level. So I do want to thank everyone who's involved, my co-creators, producers, my family, my mom and dad. This means that my mom also was rooting for Michael Douglas. So Egyptians love Michael Douglas. I don't know if you know this, but this means a lot. Thank you, HFPA. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Now, so he won a Golden Globe for his role in this show about Muslims called Rami. All right, but I want to show you just a couple of clips from the show. All right, and I want to show you why he was rewarded.
He looks like a Jew.
He looks like a Jew. It's interesting. But now this is a series I think it's about 10 episodes right now. But I want to show you.
Alright, Mom. Thanks for dropping me.
Is it only on Hulu?
Just walk up to a Muslim girl.
Matter of fact, I'll play about 3 scenes. Alright. Yes, it's only on Hulu.
Alright, Mom. Thanks for dropping me.
Shall I wait for you?
No, Muhammad's gonna do his big tab right after prayer, so.
I don't understand. Why is he getting married before you?
Okay, I gotta go.
Hey, maybe you can find a girl in there.
I'm not gonna flirt with girls at the mosque.
Why not? The girls in there are high quality.
The mosque is for praying, it's not for picking people up. And it's like a bunch of families too, and you can't just walk up to a Muslim girl and like start spitting game or something. What am I supposed to say? Like, hey, can I get your father's number?
Yes, why not?
I gotta go, I'm gonna be late.
No. Rami, do you want to stay alone forever?
No, Mom, I don't. Just because I'm not with someone doesn't mean I'm gonna be alone forever, okay? I'm just figuring it out, okay?
The girl, ASAP.
Today you are here as family and welcome, beloved. Jum'ah Mubarakah. Today you are here as family and as intimate companions to witness the joining of Muhammad and Yasmin.
You gotta die alone, bro.
What? He's right, Ron. You're right. I got no options. There's only 2 hot Muslim girls left in town. We'll be gone by the end of the year.
You talking about Fatima and Haya, bro?
Yeah.
They are not hot.
To me, they are.
You need to get your eyes checked. Go get some LASIK. They're not hot. You need to go outside of the network if you want to find quality.
Dude, I'm fine. It's not a big deal. My cousin had to do that. It took forever, man. Finally, my aunt found him a girl in Ohio.
Yeah, but now he lives in Ohio. Ohio sucks.
Okay, he's not. Sorry, Auntie.